Texans rolled the Steelers last night. It was a very deceptive final score because it didn't feel 30-6. We went into the fourth quarter, 2 minutes in. It's a 1-point game. The Texans played great defense. C.J. Stroud didn't play well at all. The Steelers were kind of the Steelers. Defense played pretty well. They just weren't threatening. And you don't have that pass rush against Aaron Rodgers. They hit him 12 times. 12 times when you're 42 is like 20 times when you're 22. So Rodgers, is it his last game? I'm sure people are going to say the following: well, you can't go out that way. What makes you think he's going to be any better next year? And same thing with Travis Kelce. Oh, you can't go out this way. We use this, we say this as if I'm going to stay, and then you stay and you played well, and maybe your team wins, and then you go, well, I can't go out this way. Yes, you can. Aaron Rodgers, I'd be surprised if he played again. And look, those numbers weren't bad during the regular season. I think if you said, and I think I did say, if he replicated what Russell Wilson did, and you got, 25, 26 touchdowns and 6 or 7 interceptions, you play good defense, you're going to make the playoffs, as they always do. And that's kind of who they were. But the more you look at it, they probably overachieved. They're not a good team, but they somehow got in. The Ravens missing the kick, they get in, and they went against a really good young defense. That's a great defense. That'll keep them in every game. I'd be really surprised if they would get blown out. C.J. Stroud played terrible. When he had 5 fumbles, lost a couple of them, you allowed the Steelers to stay in that game. And I think all of us in the back of our minds kept thinking, man, you're going to give Rodgers a chance. You're going to give him a chance. And then all of a sudden, you get a couple of defensive touchdowns, and you get a blowout there. So 30-6, the final. The Texans rushed for 164 yards, and that's your difference. Woody Marks went for 112. That's the most by a rookie in a playoff game since 2020. And Rodgers' final numbers, 146, the fewest passing yards of his 22 playoff starts. Also, that pick six, the final pass, the first that he has thrown in 807 career postseason passing attempts. So let me focus on Rodgers right now, and then we'll look at Mike Tomlin. Here is Aaron Rodgers asked about what he's going to do next year.
Aaron, does that game affect your decision for what to do next year in any way?
No, I'm not going to make any emotional decisions. Disappointed, obviously, it's such a fun year. A lot of adversity, but a lot of fun. Been a great year, overall in my life in the last year, and this is, a really good part of that, coming here and being a part of this team. So it's disappointing to be sitting here with the season over.
Yeah, he's not going to make a quick decision there because he hasn't made quick decisions before. This drags out. But you wonder, if you're Pittsburgh, let's say you're Mike Tomlin and you come back. Do you want Aaron Rodgers to come back? If you're the Steelers, do you want Mike Tomlin to come back? Do you want Aaron Rodgers to come back? Now, I certainly get the feeling, and I don't have any insight, any information other than what you probably have available to you, and that is if Mike wants to come back, he can come back. And if he wants to take a year or two off and do TV, that's going to be available. Aaron Rodgers, his prospects aren't very good. Because if it's not Pittsburgh, who's going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, who will then be 43? And he did look 43 last night. He looked even older than that. His lineman looked 43. But Aaron Rodgers, I don't see him doing TV. It feels like he'll be Joe Rogan. He'll do something like that. And probably, he has the freedom to do that. He can then have an audience, have a platform, and probably make a ton of money. As for Mike Tomlin, I see him doing TV, probably for a couple of years. And then, and being around Tony Dungy and some of these other coaches when I was at the mothership, they really needed it. They needed to almost disengage from all of that. And then you're able to watch. You're able to, you get to enjoy, you get to see, you're watching football, you're talking football, and you don't wake up on Monday or Tuesday morning feeling like he does. And I'll talk to Bill Cowher about that next hour of, that sort of disengage and then you kind of settle in. And we've seen a lot of coaches who do that. And then they go back in and then there's going to be 6 or 7 openings next year. And the year after that, 6 or 7 openings. The question is, does he want to coach again? And if so, where? But I don't see him coaching another team this next season, other than if he does, it's Pittsburgh. But I started to watch and just say, I know he had he has a winning record. He got into the playoffs. They're just not a threatening team. I'm not a DK Metcalf fan. It just didn't feel like they could do anything where you go, wow, that team is that they can put some points up there. And the defense played pretty well, but it feels like an old team. And maybe because you got Rodgers, but it feels like your window is small. Just ask the Detroit Lions, because we make this mistake. We go, and they'll be back next year. There is no guarantee of next year. And the Lions are further removed from Super Bowl contention. And they were healthy this year. There's no guarantee. Oh, Pittsburgh will have a winning record next year. Okay. But as I said to you, either early this week or last week, if you said to a Steeler fan, hey, I'll give you 10 years of making the playoffs, but you don't win a playoff game, you're going to sign up for that? And the answer is no, you're not. But how many franchises would sign up for that? You're relevant. You make the playoffs. You play in big games, but you don't win playoff games. And that's where Pittsburgh is. Mike Tomlin, I think, with that roster, probably overachieved. Now, the division wasn't very good because the Bengals weren't good, the Browns certainly weren't good, and the Ravens were average as well. But if you're the Steelers, do you want to bring back Mike Tomlin? Do you hope that he decides to take a TV job? Aaron Rodgers got a little frosty on Mike Tomlin possibly being on the hot seat.
I mean, this league has changed a lot in my 21 years. When you hear a conversation about the Mike Tomlins of the world, Matt LaFleur's of the world, those are just two that kind of I've played for. And when I first got in the league, there wouldn't be conversation about whether those guys were on the hot seat. But the way that the league is covered now, and the way that there's snap decisions and the validity given to the Twitter experts and all the experts on TV now who make it seem like they know what the hell they're talking about. To me, that's an absolute joke.
Okay, is he blaming the so-called experts or the people who listen to the so-called experts? Because we can say whatever we want. If you get some team president or GM going, I was listening to Dan Patrick. You know what I'm thinking? That ain't happening. There are a lot of experts out there, Aaron, including you. But I don't think any front office is going, wait, what did they say? What did Ryan Clark say on Get Up? Damian Woody? What should we do? Yeah, Seton.
Right, and why would you compare guys like Ryan Clark and Damian Woody or say like Teddy Bruschi or Jeff Saturday? Like their opinions are the same as random people on Twitter?
Yeah.
Why would you lump them all together? They're former players just like you're eventually going to be. Why not have the respect for them too?
Yeah, look, I understand Aaron's going to take a shot at the media. I get that. But, be fair in who you're taking a shot at here. Because if you're a front office and you're waiting to listen to Dan Orlovsky and you're going to go, that's the decision we're going to make. I'm going to put that on the front office, not Dan Orlovsky. Or if you get somebody who's never played the game, like me. Yes,
I know we keep linking them, but I think it's because they're in such similar situations with John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. And sometimes I don't know that you can make a snap decision on a coach that's been there for 20 years. I don't really know that. Nobody this year is just like, whoa, one bad year with Tomlin, better get him out of there. Sometimes I think that Harbaugh and Tomlin are in the exact same situation in that sometimes it just runs its course. It's been 20 years or almost 20 years, 15, 20 years, whatever it's been. Maybe we've just kind of gone as far as we can, and maybe you go look somewhere else now.
And it's happened down through history with coaches. I mean, this isn't anything new. And he didn't just sit on a hot seat. The temperature was being raised locally in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. not nationally. The conversation about Mike Tomlin locally is far different than nationally, because all of these former players, and they're all saying the same thing. Man, that's a guy you want to play for. Man, he did a great job. Man, he always wins. Locally, they're going, we haven't won a playoff game in 10 years. Yes, we have a 500 or better record. Yay. And see, Pittsburgh is always, like, they're never going to be bad enough where they can get better, because they're kind of in the middle. Like, you're not going to be drafting in the top 5. And that's part of the problem. Like, it's weird to say they got to get worse to get better, but this happens with NBA teams all the time. You get worse to get better. Like, the Spurs got bad. They got the number 1 pick, and then they got the number 2 pick. And go back to when they had Duncan and David Robinson. They had to be bad to get good. Pittsburgh's never, I mean, it's a credit to that organization. And I don't see them doing a rebuild. And if they do, does Mike Tomlin want to be around for that? Yeah, Paulie.
I was looking at what coaches from the past who got fired who were really shocking, and probably the biggest one all time is Tom Landry in Dallas. And I wanted to look because I don't remember that well. He missed the playoffs 3 straight years, 7-9, 7-8. But his last year, he was 3-13. Mm-hmm. And like you said, there's the opening, because Tom Landry never had a 3-13 season. And then finally, that was the one.